Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the episode 1 of the Established Facts. We are a podcast of gamers and all things gaming, from on-screen gaming to role-playing games to card games, board games, and everything in between. I'm very quickly going to introduce around the table who we got here. To my right...
You could call me Deb. You could call me Doctor. You could also call me Girl, because I'm the only one in this group with 2 X chromosomes. So, yay for girl power.
And Deb, how long have you been gaming?
Roleplay gaming about 5 years, I believe. Board gaming since I could walk. And video gaming since I was probably about 7.
So tell us a little bit about your experience in that realm that we call gaming.
That realm we call gaming. Well, I have one of our other podcast members, Dawn, to thank for getting me involved in my very first roleplay gaming, D&D 3.5, and he was the first one to suck me into that, and I've been a part of it ever since. So
is that how you came to know all of us here?
No, actually, the person to blame for that one is Josh, who you're going to meet in just a second. I met him in college, and then thanks to him, I met everybody else in this group, and then it was Dawn, who was actually my first game master.
Awesome. And to Deb's right, we have her wonderful husband.
The name is Josh. Joshy. Either way, people are going to know me as Josh.
Josh, how many years have you been gaming? Have you been gaming such a short time that your wife has been gaming?
I'd probably put about 3 more years on her for that one. Somewhere in the 8-year range, I guess.
And what do you prefer to play?
I kind of a mixture of the video games and the tabletop role-playing games. Most of us are playing Pathfinder these days and Star Wars role-playing game. But I'm a avid Sony PlayStation 3 player as well. SmackDown Freak on the network, if anyone's curious.
Look at that plug. So tell me, Josh, how have you, of course, being responsible for giving us Deb and the double X chromosomes,
Yay.
How are you responsible into knowing everyone?
The majority of this is going to end up being Don's fault, and he'll get the opportunity to hopefully explain himself later. But it's actually more of our esteemed host. Esteemed is a wonderful word to give him. Why not? Mike actually introduced me to Don and a couple of other friends of ours who may show up on the show sometime, who knows, and got me involved in a D&D game. Very clearly remember playing an evil gargoyle, which was quite entertaining when you're first starting and have never played it at all. So let's just give him a killing stone statue. Sounds like a great way to start.
That it does. To his right, we have...
I'm Anton. You may hear me referred to as Necrogami, or Moo.
Or Tony.
Tony.
Yeah, whatever.
So, Tony, how many years have you been involved in gaming?
Gaming. I'm going to say 15.
15 years.
Yes.
So that obviously predates the run-ins that we have with us in 3.5. So tell me a little bit, like, where did you get involved with gaming?
I actually got involved in gaming at a library, of all places. I started with an online game called Shilla, and I met a lot of people and just have played that until 2002.
And then what did you pick up?
Then I started picking up D&D and moved along that realm.
You do any other type of gaming? Any other...
I do occasionally some console gaming, but I primarily do role-playing games now.
Awesome. So how do you know all of us wacky people that have decided to do this podcast this evening?
Well, I can blame it on Don as well, through Josh. Josh took me to a game that he said I'd probably be interested in playing, and then I met Don, and it all went downhill from there.
Awesome. And to Tony's right, we have...
Jeremy or Ragar.
Awesome. So, Ragar, tell me, how many years have you been involved in gaming?
I'm going to go ahead and say all my life.
All your life?
Around preschool, some of the older kids had brought in a Nintendo, and I was introduced to one of the NCAA games.
So you date your gaming back, of course, to the era of the console game and those systems. So is that what you stick with now, or have you branched yourself out?
I'm very much open to any form of gaming.
Any form of gaming. That's awesome. So tell me, how did you get connected to this group?
In high school, I took a class with Anton here, and we played Shilla.
Awesome. And to his right, we have the man who apparently is responsible for all of this mess. Donald?
Yeah, you can definitely refer to me as Don, Donald, Donnie. I'm also Big Don. Some people may call me that eventually, or
I also
tonight,
have
whatever.
you marked down as Mastodon.
Yeah, Mastodon. Thank you, Jeremy. I am apparently the one responsible for all of this mess. I actually,
So,
sorry.
so dating back, of course, being responsible for all this, I imagine that your role playing experience is pretty lengthy. So, how many years have you been involved in gaming?
Involved in gaming in general, probably since I was a child. Probably not nearly as long as Jeremy, if he started playing in preschool, which
In the
is
womb.
pretty awesome. But still fairly early in my childhood. My brothers and I had Super NES, as a lot of kids did in the early 90s, and that's probably where my mainstay of gaming was for a while. And then I actually got into some early collectible card games, Pokemon, and also before that, even Marvel Overpower, which some people may remember, some people may not. Very fun game. And then I got into the realm of Dungeons & Dragons. I was actually introduced into that with my dad actually invited me to a game with some friends of ours, and I've been playing role-playing games ever since then. I was about 15 then. So in general, I would say probably about 18 to 20 years I've been gaming.
It's pretty good considering you're in your mid to late 20s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You
As
could
are
say.
the rest of us.
Yeah, well,
Well,
yeah,
except
that's true.
Our seventh compatriot.
The ghost.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So, Donald, tell me a little bit about what kind of gaming do you really just see yourself as a gamer? What kind of gaming do you do?
I would say that probably my bread and butter is role-play gaming. I love playing collectible card games for the competition of it and the camaraderie that you have with that style of gaming. I love video games. Those are definitely mainstays in my life, but I would have to say if there was one style of gaming that I played forever and ever and ever until the day I passed away, would be role-play gaming. There's something about role-play gaming that just brings out that different side of you, allows you to really branch out and be unique with what you do and who you play and how you run, even as a DM. So
we've all pretty well covered the how you've came to know the group, because you've kind of been responsible pretty much for almost all of us being involved in gaming. But do you have any other insight as to how you came to know all of us? As gamers.
As gamers, I remember Mike, our host, who's asking a lot of the questions, if you will. He and I met up one night at work, and we were chatting about Dungeons & Dragons. I had just started playing with my dad a few years previous to that, and we still hung out every once in a while and played some Dungeons & Dragons. I invited him to a game, and then we ended up running into a couple other people that we started gaming with, and then he invited our friend Josh, and then it just kind of culminated in being just with just the seven of us. I mean, there's probably another group of, I don't know, I'd say probably twice, if not three times that, of people that we've actually contributed into the gaming world and kind of brought those, opportunities to them as well. So, but I mean, yeah, I would say that's probably, in a nutshell.
That's awesome. We are also being joined live via satellite. I've always wanted to say that by Derek. He is in the northeast section of the country this evening. So, Derek, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can indeed.
From my underground bunker.
This is Derek's zombie apocalypse plan that he has put into motion.
Yes.
Yes, it's under the testing phase right now, and so far things are good. I've got my chainsaw, I've got my golf club and my flamethrower.
That's
So-
awesome. So Derek,
A sword
how many?
never runs out of ammo.
That's true.
That's
That's
true.
true.
Very good point. Yeah.
So Derek, why don't you tell us a little bit about how many years have you been gaming or involved in gaming?
Okay, well, now you guys get to meet the old person of the group. I started back in the 80s with the Square controller NES.
Yes.
Original NES. And from there, I played NES, some Super Nintendo, and then I got out of gaming for a couple of years until I got into college. Then I started with LARPing with World of Darkness. At that point, it was Vampire the Masquerade. That's what got me back into gaming. And then what got me into tabletop gaming was an evil D&D game. So I was playing an evil character. So from there, it's just a baby step to GMing after you play an evil character.
So Derek, would you say that much like Don and the rest of us, that role-playing game is kind of role-playing games are like your bread and butter, and that's what you kind of is your backbone of your gaming experience?
Yes and no. I also do a lot of trading card games. I heavily play Universal Fighting System and very little Magic, the Gathering, but I do some drafts, and I do. I'm starting to get into the Commander format, but bread and butter it will probably be UFS, PS3, Xbox. I'm really looking forward to starting up with my Infamous 2 and role-playing, but yes.
That's awesome. It sounds like you have a wide variety of gaming experience. And so tell us, Derek, how did you get to know all of us? Are you responsible? Is Don responsible for your hook into this group?
I really wish I could blame him so it could be totally unanimous, but I cannot. Actually, Josh and Anton are the two people that are responsible for this. I run a yearly campaign at GenCon, and Josh and Anton were in that first game, I believe back in 2006 or 7. They're the ones that convinced me to move up to Indianapolis from Arkansas, which was not a hard sell, let me say. But yes, no, it was them who made that push.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I am Mike. I'm your host for this evening. I'll be referred to as Mike, Mikey, Michael, the host.
The Overlord.
The Overlord, or all other things sadistic.
Tonight's official game master is
Right. Years gaming. I've been involved with gaming. I say probably 8-9 years, but much like Jeremy, I was involved really early with the NES and those, Duck Hunt and Mario and all those guys.
Gateway drugs is, I think, what we referred to
Gateway
them earlier.
Gateway games or what those were.
Gateway games. Sorry, yeah.
My experience with gaming and my I guess my tells of gaming. I'm a very heavy RP player. I like to play in role playing games. I also am a sucker for a really good pay to play massively multiplayer online game. I have been in the WoW universe. I have been in EVE and those kind of experiences.
he's the game master. He should be laughing evilly, not you two.
That's true. That's not your job.
We're helping.
Oh.
They're
Yes,
playing
indeed.
in PCs.
Oh, okay.
So, my experience of coming to know everyone here this evening is I am, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I am on the meat hook that is Don that has hooked us all into gaming. I was
That is such a bad image.
well, I'm going to be known for those. So
Yes.
I was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons as my first gaming, social gaming experience. And let me tell you that being introduced to Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 was a very rude awakening, coming from almost no social and RPG experience.
Amen,
just
brother.
Jumping right into that was kind of a rude awakening. But that is kind of how we all got to know each other, how we all got involved, and decided that one day we would have this harebrained scheme to do a podcast about gaming and the things that it's done to our lives.
Wow.
Hello, my name is Derek Knudsen. I am a role player.
That's right.
It's been 20 days since I've last played, and
It's only been 7.
oh, shut up!
Why can't
Kill
this
it.
count as
You
being...
kill it. You just like stab it to death. Like whenever I try to make a joke, it's all you, Temery.
How is this not feeding our gaming addiction?
Cry.
Seriously.
Because we don't have dice.
All right,
They're
so
behind you.
Oh, let me pass them out.
this evening on the Established Facts, we are going to be looking at the myths, the legends, and the things that gamers call house rules. And to me, these things are near and dear to my heart. And what we're going to be talking about in our versus topic this evening is whether or not there is a true place in gaming for house rules, for the ability for a game master to alter rules for play style or for easiness or for power level or whatever, and whether or not having the freedom to do that off balances the creativeness or the balance of the game system that you're running in.
Or maybe the rules just weren't translated very well.
Maybe.
Was that your way of saying the rules suck?
Well, maybe it was overseas, and sometimes there's
Language barrier?
yeah.
Ah.
Right. So tonight we're going to talk about house rules, or if house rules just really destroy the integrity of the game. Deb, what do you think about house rules, or do house rules destroy the integrity of the game?
I am going to be kind of a rebel, I think, and I'm going to say I do not like house rules.
Josh, what do you think about house rules? Or
I'm going to have to say I go with house rules in certain situations.
I'm with Josh on that one. I'm for house rules in certain situations.
Jeremy?
House rules.
Don?
I would say, unless otherwise the structure has to be there, house rules are always fun.
Derek, what do you feel about house rules, or what it possibly does to the integrity of the game?
I'm on the fence.
We smite people like that.
I know, but I'm away from you guys, so I do not fear your smite.
You do have to come home.
No, I don't.
That's true. He really does.
I'm going to say house rules are fine.
Awesome. And I generally I'm open to house rules. I like the freedom it gives. So, Josh, why don't you sounded like you were kind of in the middle there. Tell me what kind of experiences or what type of situations you would see that house rules are good or maybe needed, or maybe times when house rules are just a little much.
Well, I'd have to say that there's the reason why I added on the caveat of certain situations is due to past experience that a lot of us here have had with a particular group of gamers that just were as bent as possible on becoming epic gaming players, and even implementing a rule that was the part of the Dungeons and Dragons system that even Wizards of the Coast didn't agree with, called gestalting, that they would be twice as powerful and ridiculously powerful in general on that. And what would happen is that the game master, whether it was her own fault or not, it was difficult for her to create monsters for us to battle. But that same gaming group introduced me to a couple of rules that neither of the main role-playing game systems, any of the main role-playing game systems I've dealt so far with, to try and balance things out, like your ranged fighters being able to do certain damage based off their dexterity modifier was a specific example. They're able to add that, whereas otherwise it would be strength if you had a strength-associated bow. I agreed with that as a house rule, whereas the overtly power gaming, I was not necessarily... I played it, I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say that it was necessary. which is why I would say
I think
in
you're
certain
more
situations.
concerned about a style of play rather than the house rules themselves. I mean, house rules in and of itself as a concept does not necessarily mean that the game gets thrown off balance. But power gaming, by its own definition, is throwing stuff off balance. So,
Deb, what do you have to say about that?
Since I think I'm the youngest of everybody in regards to role-play game experience, I'm going to speak from my own experience and say it's a challenge when you come in and you want to learn a game, and your friends give you the core rule book and say, here you go, and so you're serious, and so you read it because you're a nerd and I'm a nerd, so you read it and you study it, and okay, I think I got this, and you go in for the first time and you start playing, and all of a sudden things are happening and you have no concept. Wait, I thought I read that rule, but what are they doing? And so all of a sudden you're totally lost. So I think it's pretty hard for new gamers to come into a situation where you've got a ton of house rules. I think it throws off their rhythm, and then maybe they're not as interested in coming back because they really don't know what's going on. So that's my concern with it.
Jeremy?
My experience with this was back in the day with Monopoly. A buddy of mine and I used to play this game all the time for probably a couple years, something silly. Well, it got to the point where we could do essentially roll the dice, and we'd know precisely where on the board we were going to be, what the money handout was, and we'd started using calculators. We just eliminated the money, and we started getting to the point where we had to make it more difficult. So we started adding extra rules to the game, where if you land on go, you double your entire money. You can build multiple hotels. So that was my first experience with house rules. But it was only after the fact of going through and learning the game system and really understanding the game before we went and started doing the house rules.
Don, did you have something to throw on there?
Kind of in agreement with what Jeremy had to say. I mean, I love house rules. As a GM, it kind of gives you the freedom to be able to run your own customized games when it comes to even just something as simple as changing the creation style of your character. I know a lot of times when we create characters, each one of us, depending on the game that we run, likes to use their own personal method, whether it be a point system that you have to spend on your abilities, or if you roll, you take 10 and roll a D8, or whatever the case may be. Those are all considered to be house rules, and I really enjoy those. But I would have to say that I definitely agree with Jeremy's position on it. It is much easier to add and manipulate house rules when there is a foundation of how you're going to play the game on a constant, versus always changing one way or another, and never really kind of finding that niche of what you like as a game master or just in general as a gamer.
Tony?
Well, see, from my experience, I came into playing role-playing games with house rules, and I started out there, and it was an interesting experience to play a game without house rules, and how much, and like, from my point of view, it's that I use house rules for making a game smoother, not necessarily for power leveling or anything of those kind of aspects. I just want them to make the game flow easier versus trying to make the game more challenging or more difficult.
Don?
In kind of off of what Tony just said, I think that there's also a very real difference between someone who might be the game master or dungeon master or storyteller, depending on what kind of game you're playing, and them making a ruling on the fly to keep things moving. And I don't disagree that you can definitely instill house rules in order to do that, but I think that there's definitely a degree of expertise that a game master has to have to say, okay, well, we're making 17 different checks every time we want to do this, so let's just do one and move on so that you can keep that game flow going. And I think that there's definitely a fine line between house rules and then making a DM call depending on what the situation brings.
So
I agree.
Oh, awesome. So so as we've kind of reached a plateau here, so
Actually, I have one other thing to add to
Go
this.
for it, sir.
as they were, several people were alluding to, when you're learning a gaming system, it's good to learn it as a whole to begin with, rather than learning the modified version. Because especially when you go to like cons or like that, people tend to go more towards what's printed in a con rather than house rules. And I remember several instances with, I think it was initiative and flat-footedness when I started running for this group, where it wasn't fully understood that that enemies were flat-footed before they got to their initiative, and so it was just, there was a learning curve, not a steep one, very shallow, but I mean there still was a learning curve when I was running for the rule system as printed rather than a house rules system. So if you're a new gamer, I would say learn the system and run and play the system as is first, and then muck with it.
Jeremy, what do you feel about all that?
Well, to counter what I think a lot of you are implying is that you have to learn a system, a previously existing system. My first experience with role-playing tabletop dice was through the process of essentially building and playtesting my own version of a campaign rules with a couple of friends of mine. And so the entire thing was just entirely built on the story, and we were changing the rules as we were playing so that it was to tell the story or to socialize with each other and have a way of getting introduced without actually having to go out and invest in any of the already existing or established systems.
Yes, but when there's a debate between, do the rules get involved, or do the rules interfere with the storyline, or does it complement it? I mean, that's a whole other debate. But when you're picking up a system, let's say D&D, just for instance, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to play a D&D game, and I'm going to learn the D&D game. I believe that the system as is printed should be learned first, rather than the homebrew style of that. I can understand what you're saying, Jeremy, but that was your guys' own system, so whatever that was is what it was. It's not like, okay, well, now I'm going to play a D&D game at GenCon, and it's going to be just like what we play at home, which has all these different house rules with gestalted characters and damage based on dexterity versus strength and so forth. So it could get confusing, especially for beginning gamers. So I'm talking specifically systems, not your own system.
Right on. So as we all have kind of established here, that there is definitely a place in role play gaming or other type of social gaming where you have the ability to implement some kind of house rules or some kind of DM judgment calls on things of that nature. But overall, the integrity of the game should be respected for what it is, and you should really kind of lay down a base or a solid foundation of that foundation of the game before you really start tampering with things. And I support that opinion. My first experience with role playing was very limited to a very short game that was very kind of by the book. But then my vast experience that I ran with experiencing in gaming and role playing was with a group that pretty much took the rule book and, as they would put it in the back 40. And it was literally, I don't like that rule because it hinders my ability to smash that monster in less than 3 rounds. Or I don't like that rule because I have to make 5 checks and I really only want to make 1. And now, granted, that has its place if that's kind of what you're after. But I completely agree that there's a huge learning curve, like Derek was speaking on. That if you go and play with people at a GenCon or at any other type of convention or just next door, even, you can't really take those rules with you and expect everyone to understand how you're role playing and how you're treating your character. And it really, what it does is it takes your role playing experience and it really limits you. It puts you in a closet or in a box that you can really only play that character in that atmosphere or with that group. It kind of does away with the whole RPGA. Where they have the standardized system that they build characters and it lets you take that character anywhere you want. It kind of does away with that freedom that you have the ability to take that character and move around. So
I would not categorize it so doom and gloomy. Because it seems like, okay, you've played a house rules, now you're tainted and you will never ever be able to play an established system again. And it's just, I don't want to give that impression.
Well, I wasn't trying to give that impression, but a lot of house rules are generated very quickly at the very roll up of the character. And if you don't match a roll up of the game you're trying to move into, you're having to, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to allude to the fact that depending on where you place your house rule, you could very well be limiting the ability to take that character anywhere you want to take it.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. Taking that specific character, I mean, the character's stats, I would say, I could definitely see the transportability gets decreased, but it's not by any means nil.
Oh, absolutely. Don, you had your comment on that.
Yeah, I wanted to expound just a little bit on what you were saying, what Derek was saying. I think that where that line where house rules can start to become more powerful than what they probably should be, can very quickly, especially when you have the mentality of, I'm going to take the rules that are established in this game and pretty much just bury them because there's really no reason for me to have them because I'm going to have things my way. That's when, especially as a game master, when you have players who do not want to at least regard the rules that are there, or at least the structure in which you run by, is definitely a lot harder to run in a party like that. And again, kind of based off of what you said too, Mike, when you go from an environment where you do nothing but play house rules, it is very difficult. There is a learning curve, again, just like Derek said. There is a learning curve that you kind of have to wipe away all the stuff that you learned earlier so that you can reestablish what the game is all about versus a player getting their way all the time or whatever it may be.
I think that the discussion of power gaming versus this is a bad term, I guess, but normal gaming should definitely happen later on. Because I think this is where this is heading into, because it's like we're trying to compare godlike characters to normal Joe Blow adventurers, which are by no means normal in the world. But I mean, I think that discussion can happen.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little off topic.
Yeah.
Something I'd like to add real quick is, for our listeners, we're really speaking in terms of any system as well, not just restricted to role-playing. This could be console or whatever interface allows you to have access to options or rules.
Minecraft.
Game Genie.
Game Genie.
Wow, that's a back.
That's right. That's right.
Command line hacking of Oblivion. I know many people that did that.
Yeah, or if you're a Sims 2 player, Control Alt or Control Shift C. But
what was it?
It's a
Rosebud.
beautiful thing.
Tilda.
Rosebud.
Yeah, Motherload. Yeah.
Tilda
Motherload.
and Half-Life.
Yeah.
Well, now that we've all established we're all cheaters.
Yeah.
House rules.
That's right. House rules allow you to cheat.
So
That's why they
we are in the middle of summer here in the Midwest, and there's a big event that goes on in the Midwest that's pretty popular. It's called GenCon. Our main topic for this evening is we are going to kind of set the stage as we all get geared up or shifting into gear here to get focusing on towards going to Gen Con. I know a lot of us work and we have vacation planned and stuff that this is really just a big best 4 days in gaming, like they say it is. And this year's Gen Con, their tagline is to bring out your inner gamer. And I know I, for one, am very excited about Gen Con this year, and I know everyone else is as well. So we have some things that we're going to talk about as kind of the pre-Gen Con meeting, or kind of your basic dungeoneering kit for Gen Con.
Yeah, this is the lead up to Gen Con, so in other words, it's the worst 2 months of my life. Because I typically run at Gen Con, so it's...
Which for us players means it's the greatest, because we get to look and point and laugh at him while he's freaking out.
Yes.
Or screwing up his game.
Yay. That's typical whether I'm home or at a con.
We love you.
Yeah. Love
in
you
that
too.
hateful sort of way.
Quite.
True.
That's my job.
So go
Derek, as a game master at Gen Con, what do you how do you feel as far as when it comes to your schedule? Obviously, you have to put down a good chunk of your time devoted to running this game in order to help support and not only the things that you're doing, but what Gen Con is doing. So, how do you feel on your schedule? Tell me a little bit about how you visualize your 4 days, the best 4 days in gaming, and the fact that you have to take X number of hours and dedicate it to running this game that you said that you're going to run. What do you do with the rest of your schedule?
Vodka.
Yeah.
I tend to run strict schedules at Gen Con, even if I wasn't running. I think the first year was the only year that I did not do a strict schedule, and it was just a disaster. But then again, it was the first year at Gen Con, and that never runs really, really smoothly. But you have to be, especially if you're... you'll be fine. You'll be with experienced people. Your mind will be blown, and everybody will be happy. So,
butterflies and unicorns.
Yes, exactly. So I tend to have a very strict schedule. I lay out Google Calendar, and I put down the times where I want my games to happen, and it actually becomes a disjointed schedule for me because I have to submit all my stuff that I want to run in the times that I want to run back in January. So those time frames become solid at that time. So I have no idea what else is running at that time because the schedule doesn't come out until May. And so I have to go by what last year was like for what I wanted to play in to arrange my schedule for next year for what I'm running so I can be available for those games. This becomes really complicated with my collectible card game tournaments that I'm in. I had to actually contact the company and say, okay, look, I'm submitting events. When are you guys running these tournaments? And so I had to work around that. I'm running 4 games. Typically my campaign game, that I call it, that was a 3-part game, so I had three slots that I had to fill. Trying 1 slot this time, which makes it easier on my schedule. So for people who are running, it's a dance to see if you put your slots at the right times so you can actually enjoy some of Gen Con. Last year was a disaster for me because all I felt I was doing was running because of the way that I arranged my schedule. So,
Jeremy, what do you feel about that?
Well, I wanted to ask Derek a question. Actually, is there anything you might be able to add tools or you'd mentioned Google Calendar? Is there anything else or contacts or something aside from the company that you might be able to help provide the listeners? I'm not sure if there's any information you can actually share with that.
Like a tool for the listeners to kind of plan out their weekend.
Because that sounds like anything we could provide would be really, really helpful for that. Or share experiences.
if there was a tool to map out slots and that sort of thing, that would be very useful. But unfortunately, it's very old school. Cobbled together Google Calendar. I look at the schedule from the previous year and go about it that way. I mean, it's sort of like a game of chance in some respects.
Do you have to save the schedule from the previous year, or is that something you are able to stumble across online?
The last number of years, they've provided an Excel schedule that you can download from the GM section. Or was the event section, but I didn't see it this year. It may be up there, but yes, like they used to at least have an Excel spreadsheet that had all the games that were available.
Wow.
So I know from experience, Don, why don't you tell us a little bit about when you go to GenCon? Not only Don's a little different than everyone else. He's got a.
You can say that again.
Don's a little different than everyone else, but he's got not only a wife, but he has a 2-year-old son, and this year he has another one on the way. So tell me, Don, when it comes to attending GenCon or any type of large gaming function, what is it like when you have a family?
Well, I mean, I would definitely say it's absolutely different than just going on your own. I can remember the first couple years I went, it was just me and my wife.
And it's convincing her to buy the dice because you don't have that power anymore, right?
That's right. That's right. Which is not a hard sell. Not at all. We usually, to be honest, I would say if I had a tip for anybody, it would definitely be have a budget on what you want to spend your money on, because it is very easy walking through that exhibit hall to get pulled over by people who have big swords and shiny dice.
Yes. Also, don't leave your pouch of gold coins on the concession stand desk.
That was not me. That was my wife, and she dropped $200 cash out of her GenCon Pass badge holder. Yeah, don't do that either. Make sure you keep your money in your pocket or in a wallet in the front pocket. That way, whatever. But to address your question, going to GenCon with a family the last 2 years for me has been a lot of fun. My son, the first year we went, he was about 6 months old, I think. So he would sleep and eat and poo all over the place, and and vomit. Well, he didn't ever get sick or nothing, but it wasn't too bad. I think probably the hardest thing for us was walking through the exhibit hall with a stroller. I'll tell you what, that is a danger zone. I have a friend of mine named Frank who goes every year, and he's in a wheelchair, and I can't imagine. I mean, I know how hard it is just pushing a stroller. I can't imagine, somebody who might be disabled or something like that, who might need a couple extra special needs. You'd pretty much have to keep to the outskirts of things or wait until an hour before the exhibit hall closes when everybody leaves. But it's really a lot of fun. I am super excited about my son's going to be 2.5 this year. I'm praying that I'm going to be okay to at least try and attend for a day or two because my wife and I are going to be having our second son on the 25th. And so it's going to be definitely a tight squeeze in our schedule, in our pocketbook a little bit, but I definitely think we're going to try and go for at least Sunday, which is, if anybody has not gotten a chance to ever go, Sunday is definitely a good day to go because you can get a family pass. Definitely an awesome investment. It's fairly cheap, and I believe you can go with up to 4 members of your family. So you, your wife, your 2 kids, or whatever it may be. It's definitely a lot of fun. I definitely recommend, especially if you're going with children, small children, the board game room is great because you can sit down and all play a game together. My wife and I definitely love the board game room.
I saw that they started having like a little climbing area for the kids,
yes,
too.
Yeah, they've got a ton of stuff that they're starting to incorporate, and especially, I don't know, those who might be listening and those who are in in the podcast with us, they just expanded the convention center. It's 3 times the size that it was last year for GenCon, so it is going to be pretty amazing.
And they're not even using most of the old space.
Yeah, I mean, to see what they're going to do to expand, and I'm assuming that they're probably going to start adding a lot of kid-friendly, family-friendly experiences, and I know that they have a lot of what they call better half experiences or events, which are very cool too. But I definitely encourage those who are, if you're going with your family and maybe a couple members of your family are not gamers, but you are, definitely look into the better half events. They've got some really cool things between belly dancing classes,
chainmail teddy bears, to making chainmail clothing, to ghost tours in the middle of the night, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, and definitely pace yourself. Go early if you can. If you happen to get a VIG pass, you are a smart person because that gets you an hour of being in the exhibit hall without a lot of other people there, which is an amazing thing. Plus, for anybody who has gotten that before, it pays for your hotel room, which having small children and having a hotel room close to the exhibit hall is definitely a good idea for naps. So, I mean, that'd probably be my big hits.
So, Josh, what did you have to say about what Don was talking about?
Well, Don was talking about the idea of being a VIG and being a parent and so forth at the con, and then we've also had Derek talk about being a game master and scheduling at the con. But the majority of us here are either single or married. Of course, now that I'm married, this will be my first marriage con, which ought to be entertaining. I get to take my lovely wife with me. Looking forward to that. What?
Gen Con, not Marriage Con.
Yeah, no, I know. But believe me, in the end, it's going to be about what.
Con is.
In the end, it's going to be about what the marriage ends up coming out of it with. I have no idea if that really was a complete thought, but we'll just go ahead and walk through that one.
It wasn't.
Smooth.
So Josh, why don't you tell us about this
Rewind.
Marriage Con?
Yes, I want to hear all about it.
I don't really know anything about it. I know a little more about Gen Con, but for me, and like the most of us here, we're all players coming into the con. And as a player, I actually am on similar boat with Derek, liking to have a schedule for, I'd say, at least 60% of the con. But again, most of us being from the Indianapolis area, when we talk about the convention center, it's because we know what's going on. So it tends to help out a lot of us, and some of you different listeners and so forth that are going to be coming in are going to be either staying at a hotel or staying with friends and family. I will tell you that I actually live about 20 minutes from the convention center. We'll still be staying in a hotel just to save transit time and so forth. But I will say that from a player's perspective and a scheduling perspective, if you're really wanting to be scheduled through the entire weekend, try and plan it. If you can afford it, we all know that it's not cheap, but if you can afford it, try and plan a way that you can stay in Indianapolis, stay downtown. There are tons of hotels, but they sell quick. So be prepared for it. But now that we're
group up with people, that's the easiest way to do it. If you can get like a group of people to all throw in, especially if one of them has a VIG pass, it reserves a room for you.
And it's really important to stay close to the convention center because I can tell you that walking home late at night after running or playing games, it's sort of a drag. Worrying about parking and so forth. It's every day is really obnoxious because we tried that one time, and I'm glad that we've got a hotel now.
So, and he's right. It makes a lot of sense. Player's perspective for me, again, try to be scheduled, knowing where I'm going to be. Knowing what I want to do. But I will also say this year I'm trying something a little different. I'm only playing, as I said, about 50% of the time for games I'm going to do because I want to make sure I have plenty of time in the exhibit hall, plenty of time to meet up with companies, plenty of time to just see what fun stuff is going on in the exhibit hall, see the people that are dressed up that everyone makes fun of that I think are very entertaining. And
Gen Con has nothing on Dragon Con as far as costumes. I'm sorry, but oh wow. If you ever get to Dragon Con, you'll see some of the most elaborate, funky costumes as well, along with the schlubs that have their pajamas on or something like that. So
I was just going to add on Josh's point. When it comes to as as people who dwell in the city of Indianapolis, and especially because my wife happens to work downtown, so I get a lot more experience downtown than probably most of the people that we're podcasting with. I highly recommend, if you can, find a hotel that has a nice garage that will either add your parking into your bill or has like a decent premium on parking, because parking is a nightmare if you have to park on the street, especially now they just changed the meters downtown. It stinks really bad because they actually charge you Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, unlike what it used to be where you actually got a free pass on Saturday and Sunday. I would also recommend, like Derek said, try and stay close if you can, but normally most of the hotels around the area are within 2 blocks. So, and they just opened a couple new Marriott hotels. They've got JW Marriott, which is a little pricier, but it's got 1,300 rooms. So,
Jeremy, what you got over there?
Rolling back to a statement Derek had made about staying close to Gen Con because the walk is can be rough. A lot of us have started taking laptops or iPads, various other technological devices, and storing PDFs on it for all of our books. So instead of dragging around 20, 30 pounds worth of books, we have everything consolidated within the 7-pound piece of technology. There's a few other tricks these guys have, but that's the best one I know of.
I don't know about you young whippersnappers with these like newfangled toys like iPads and laptops and stuff like that.
Let I remind you that it's because of us newfangled technology freaks that you are live via satellite.
On 3 or 4G, I can't remember.
Yeah, using a Thunderbolt and probably looking at the internet using your iPad, sir.
Actually, I'm using my MiFi. It's 3G because I'm in Vermont. Thank you very much. And my Thunderbolt is to the left of my laptop. So, yes, I understand technology. I was making a joke. Don't kill it.
He does that because all your jokes.
It ended up being funnier when we killed it.
Yeah. So you say. Actually, I was more concerned as far as the travel time is concerned. When we were traveling from the house, we had to make sure everybody was up at 7 o'clock, and then that we had to drive in there, find a parking spot, drop people off. It's additional, and then we had to worry about, okay, is everybody going back to the house at the same time? There was a scheduling issue, and so on and so forth. I wasn't really talking towards like the distance away from the convention center as far as the hotels, but staying in a hotel, even if you're local, is actually helpful.
So scheduling.
Tony?
Yeah.
From my point of view, I'm completely outside the realm of most everybody here. I go to Gen Con, at least the last 4 years I've gone. I don't have a schedule. I mean, the only schedule I had the last couple of years was the games that I was playing with Derek. But otherwise, a lot of times I'll pick up a bunch of generics and just go find random games, look for games that people are missing from or stuff like that, and just sit in on games. And it helps broaden and get random perspectives of game, new styles of play, and it lets me be freeform and lets me spend a lot of time in the dealer hall because, I mean, it's Gen Con. You could spend your entire time in the dealer hall and not see everything.
Oh, yeah.
And now that it's 3 times bigger, oh God.
Yeah, I just want to touch real quickly on what Tony was saying there. Every year that I go to Gen Con, I've scheduled some games and stuff like that, but I have found generally I get the most pleasure or the most experience out of Gen Con just doing exactly what he said. It's just walking up to the generic booth where they issue out all the little generic tickets and just grabbing a handful of those and shoving them in my little ID badge, and I'll just, a lot like you said, I'll just walk around and kind of really feel out what's going on. And to me, that's the beauty of Gen Con is it's Indianapolis is such a close laid out city. You can really get to everything. It's relatively painless. That if you wanted to walk over to Union Station or to wherever they're holding games and just check out and see what's over there, it's not a painful experience to try and do that. It's you don't really have to search out games to be feel like you have the ability to get over there and check things out without feeling removed from everything that's going on. Don, what you got?
I totally agree with both Tony and Mike on this point. I know I kind of talked a lot about gaming with a family and going to Gen Con with a family, but I myself am a very free-form, free spirit when it comes to the Gen Con experience. I love being able to, even if I have to go into the exhibit hall 4 times because I go every day, like Tony said, there's so much that you can experience with going into it all the time. Another really good point is there are several games that I have played with a couple of our other podcast members that were scheduled for other people who couldn't get to the game, which was kind of fun because it gave me a chance to, with that free spirit of scheduling, I could just jump in and go for it. So, and for people who are on a budget, if you don't have the money for generic tickets, or if you don't have the opportunity to schedule a ticket or a ticketed game, there are tons of avenues for you to play free games with people you've never met, to demo new games. Go walk around the exhibit hall for 2 hours, and you'll have a bag full of free stuff just from demoing games.
It's the best part.
It's awesome. The swag that they usually get when you demo games is actually pretty sweet. So,
Jeremy?
Well, I wanted to comment on that. I still feel relatively new to Gen Con. I've only been going for maybe 2 years, and I think last year was the first year I actually went 4 days. The first year I went, I only went Sunday. So in general, the scheduling aspect of it, I try to stay scheduled because I enjoy going through and planning out, finding everything that I enjoy. But this year will be the first time I'm trying freeform. I actually had a schedule built up, but I logged in 15 minutes late, and all of my events were completely sold out. So you got to deal with it, and I'm going to try to run around, take pictures of all my old friends, and see what crazy costumes they're in, and just enjoy the con for the aspect of seeing and interacting with everyone.
Yeah, the event, scheduling events is sort of an event in and of itself, or has been. Because up until this current iteration, where I think they've finally figured out how to register events in an efficient way, we've had to have a command center in our kitchen, with all of our desktops, laptops, so forth. And then as soon as I think it was noon hits, we all hit submit at one time, and then keep on hitting submit, and you'd get partial pages coming back to you because everybody's hitting submit at the same time.
Essentially, it's a worldwide distributed denial of service attack on GenCon servers.
Yes, but this time it actually ran pretty smoothly, and so yeah.
So as we are kind of coming toward the end here, kind of quickly, I'm going to move around the room here, and I'm going to start over here with our Double X chromosome. Deb, what are you looking forward to at your Gen Con this year? What are you really looking forward to?
That's hard. I think the thing I'm really looking forward to is actually getting to spend 3 days at Gen Con. Up until now, I've only been able to do Gen Con for 1 day due to my work schedule or my school schedule. And so I never really got to have the full experience. And this year I'm going to be able to be there Thursday night starting at 6. I still have to work Thursday day, but Thursday at 6 and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'm excited to just be able to totally dive in and get my geek on for 2.5 or 3 whole days. But other than that, I can't wait for Hickman's Killer Breakfast. I've heard hilarious things about it, so I can't wait to see it live and in person. Want to see if CCP's got anything around. I'm a big Eve player, and I want to see what they're unveiling and if they have anything to show us at Gen Con. I don't know if they've got anything loaded up special for it, but I want to see it.
Soon.
And very soon. No.
Doubtful.
And then, other than that, I just want to get involved with playing with some other groups with Pathfinder and some Star Wars. I love playing with this group, but what you guys have been saying about freeform, joining in with groups that you've never played before, making some new friends, because, heck, Derek, that's because we know you, is because, Josh and Anton decided to do that. So I'm totally excited about doing that. And another GM that runs Star Wars for us, we totally met at Gen Con. So I want to start making those connections. John. He's not
John,
here.
he's awesome.
Shout out.
Yeah,
Hi,
man.
John.
Pettit.
Yeah,
He's amazing.
epic. Anyway, so that's what I'm looking forward to.
So, Josh, what things are you looking forward to as this Gen Con approaches as we head towards August?
Well, as Derek made mention with the annual campaign game or whatever he's been playing, I've been involved with it the last now 5 years. I guess this would be the 5th year.
It will.
Which is amazing, and I am coming headstrong, ready to play Magthonrial, or as anyone else that may know me will be calling me Maggie, the stuffed pet teddy bear. That is not my fault, but that's a story all in itself. I know I'm definitely looking forward to that, but also, as Deb mentioned, John coming up from Oklahoma, meeting up with his dad and his uncle and John on Wednesday night. We're meeting up for a Star Wars game, and then Saturday night the big group of us is meeting together and just trying to determine what type of game we want to play at our hotel. I'm definitely looking forward to Paizo's upcoming release for the Ultimate Combat, introducing the ninja, samurai, and gunslinger into the world of Pathfinder. That's going to be awesome. And I'm sure, whether or not you're a fan of Dungeons & Dragons, I'm sure Wizards is going to have some ridiculous thing coming out. I know they're talking about the Neverwinter Nights campaign settings coming out. So it's going to be a pretty interesting con just from a role-playing standpoint. But many people be ready to come in there with a video game mindset. Your board game folks, I'll never forget the year that Redneck Life first debuted. That was just shocking. I still haven't played it yet. I hope to do that.
It's fun. It is a lot of fun.
Kobolds Ate My Babies.
Oh yeah,
The best beer game ever.
So, I'm looking forward to the new games and new experiences. And I know that sounds very general, but every year that's what I get: a new game and a new experience.
So, Tony, real quickly, what are we looking forward to out of you for you experiencing Gen Con this year?
Well, I'm looking around to see what new companies are there. Something that's always there is you see the obscure company you didn't know existed in the games that they have. That's how I've picked up on quite a lot of games. Something else I'm looking forward to is the MechWarrior pods, because they are always an experience. If you've never done it, do it. The engine, just looking around, finding new games, new people to play with, and seeing what CCP may have in terms of their upcoming games. So, Jeremy,
for me, it's going to be really the social aspect. I like going around, seeing old friends, and the crazy costumes that people are wearing. I'm also big into doing scavenger hunts. Wandering around and seeing what little booths or hidden things they have tucked away. I want to say last year they had Doctor Who TARDIS sitting.
Doctor Who.
Yeah. So, in terms of games, I'm on the fence about it.
Remember, we smite those.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
and you are local.
Yeah.
Don't forget that, Derek. You have to come here for Gen Con.
I don't know. Maybe the indie games and the books. That's that and the people.
Don.
I would say I'm definitely looking forward to again praying that I'm going to be able to go for at least one day. Bring my family, and we might find a babysitter for the newborn. But I know that this year is it Mayfair Games? Mayfair Games is the co-sponsor, which is amazing. Anybody who hasn't gotten a chance to play Settlers of Catan or any game that they have, they've got a lot of really fun, just silly games. My wife and I bought a game called Kaboom last year. It involves a little bomb and a die, and it's a big party game. You can sit around. I mean, it's fun. Definitely looking forward to a lot of independent stuff. There's a lot of authors that get a chance to premiere at Gen Con. I actually met one about a month ago in front of the Downtown Comics in the middle of Indianapolis, who's going to be premiering her first published book, which is pretty exciting for her. We got a chance to talk to her. There's going to be a couple, they got Artist Avenue, they got Entrepreneurs Avenue, Authors Avenue. If you get a chance to go to those, I'm definitely excited about seeing those. And then, of course, we've got a friend of ours from way back who's going to be putting on some entertainment shows with some bands Nerdcore Entertainment, just to put a cheap plug in for them. They're going to be doing some shows on Thursday night, either at Scotty's Brew House or Brew Pub or whatever it is, and also at GenCon. So definitely looking forward to some of the independent stuff and some smaller stuff, but obviously, I always look forward to the big stuff that Wizards and Paizo and Pathfinder and Green Ronin, they make Mutants and Masterminds, and Slugfest, who makes whatever it is, what is it, the Dragon's Inn, or
Red
Dragon Inn, yes, Red Dragon Inn 1, 2, and 3.
True Dungeon.
There are 3 of them now?
There are 3.
Wow.
You can play up to 12 people.
Oh, man.
Cheap plug for an awesome game.
Speaking of independent developers and things that are coming at Gen Con, I distinctly remember a T-shirt that was being worn around at Gen Con that says something about coming 2011.
All in your head. It's all in your head. It never happened.
Well, then here's my cheap plug for Harry Potter. Then, if it's all in my head, that doesn't mean it's not real, Derek.
Right.
So, why don't you explain to me what all that's about?
Okay. Well, first of all, this is my 8th Gen Con that I've been at. And I've actually been to one in South California, SoCal, when it was still running. But what is happening is that my campaign setting is finally coming to fruition. The module is being released at Gen Con. It's going to be freely handed out at the tables that I run at and just around if people are interested. But yes, I've got artwork being done by Keith Curtis. Cheap plug for him because he's just totally amazing and awesome. And so yes, that's the major focus that has been this Gen Con, is getting that ready and published and so forth. Getting the campaign setting set up and ready for it to be published around November-December timeframe. And but aside from that, running my yearly campaign is a big thrill for me. I get to play one of the most or two of the most annoying characters on the planet that I get to torture my players. So it's always fun to do that.
Stupid teddy bear.
Yeah, the little girl with the teddy bear and the little boy with the blanket.
Oh, God.
2 primal entities that everybody hates.
Yes.
Yes. But this time around, I'm also really looking forward to playing in UFS tournaments. Wanted to do that last year and wasn't able to due to scheduling. But this year, I'm going to be able to do that. That's going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to talking with Jasco Gaines, who produces that, and of course talking with Paizo, as well as Lone Wolf, who does Hero Lab. So it's going to be hopefully a big Gen Con for me, and so it's good. It'll be a lot of fun, I think.
So Derek, if I was a wandering gamer that was going to be at Gen Con, and I was looking for your campaign setting, what name would I be looking for? You mentioned you had a campaign setting, but if I was that wandering gamer, what name are you going to be throwing on your campaign setting so I could ask people, where in the world do I find this?
It's Pelagane is the name of the campaign setting, and I'll be wandering around the exhibit hall. I'm also running 4 games. The module, it's called Heroes Love Song. It's a 3-part module, so I'll be running that. And I'll be running Lost Religion Found, which is happening on Thursday. So Lost Religion Found part 1 of Heroes Love Song is Thursday, and then Heroes Love Song part 2 and 3 are Friday. So
that's awesome. So you'll be wandering around the exhibit hall, and you'll be running those games. And of course,
I'll be wearing T-shirts saying, "Hey,"
taking autographs,
Heroes Love Song, and so forth, and so yeah. And you'll also find me at the UFS tournaments as well. So yeah, stop by, talk to me about it, and so forth. I'll be happy to.
Awesome. As GenCon approaches, I'm stellarly excited to be able to take my wife for the very first time. I just recently was married in June.
Is this your marriage gone too?
No.
Oh.
This is Gen Con. Marriage Con is later.
Yeah, you have the solo ticket to Marriage Con.
Yeah. I'll be
enjoy
with
that.
Your
my
wife
feet.
isn't even going to Marriage Con. I just want to point that out. Just
Right.
pointing that out right now.
So I'm very excited. My wife is definitely falling into the realm that Gen Con is supporting this year, which is very much the bringing out the inner
That's right.
gamer.
And it's not... Oh, it is my fault.
But I'm very excited to pick up on that dynamic of really starting my family and bringing my family into the realm that is gaming and what it's done in me. And I'm really just excited to. I really haven't scheduled anything at all because I really just want to be very kind of sensitive and about what she wants to do and what she wants to experience. Because I really don't want to overwhelm her with. As Deb would say, endorsing her nerdism on day one. I don't feel like I have that right to just throw her in the pool and hope she can swim.
Very, very wise.
A wise man once said.
Yes.
Right. So that's really what I'm looking forward to this year. Like I said, August is coming, and we are very excited here at the Established Facts. I think that Gen Con is going to be amazing for both of us and for all of us here, and especially for Derek. He's got to fly home and get smited to get off the fence. And there are just some big things that are happening in Indianapolis this year with Gen Con. And as a group of gamers, I can't think of a better way to spend 4 days in August in the air conditioning. Than pedaling around and loitering in the Indiana Convention Center for 4 days. Another big thing that I really think I'm really looking forward to is those very obscure games of werewolf. Are you a werewolf?
Oh, man.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So good.
Yes, Michael, you are a werewolf, and just get over it.
Yes.
Actually,
right.
I'm the seer, and if you kill me, you're pretty much done for.
Wait, but I'm the seer.
You have no proof.
Well,
So
I'm
anyway-
a magician, and so I'm going to keep Michael alive.
That's
of course
right.
you are. 'Cause
Double
it's
X
my
chromosome
fault.
supports me.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
then I'm a zombie, and I'll spread another disease.
That's a totally different game. What are you talking about?
So as we wrap up here, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and I'd like to thank the members of the panel here. I'd like to thank Derek, all the way from Vermont, on live via satellite again.
Only 2 hours from Montreal. Yay.
Whatever. That's awesome.
You stink.
Where did you come from, eh?
Eh?
I don't know, eh?
Yeah, eh?
So as we wrap up here, there's just some things that I would like to just throw in here. That this has been episode 1 of the Established Facts, and tonight we've established that house rules allow you to cheat legally.